Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. This is my Q&A video. I have your questions here, and I will be answering them. As simple as that. So basically, every week I will, do Q&A, and you guys get to ask your questions in the comments below, and I will answer them the following week. So this week we got some really good questions, and I'm going to show some pretty cool stuff as a result of these questions. And there's a lot of cool history that I'm going to get into in some of these questions. Yeah, that's the thing. So basically, you ask the question, I'll give your channel a shout out, so it'll help the community grow. And I hope you enjoy these answers. I always babble at the beginning. I don't know why. Okay, so the first question is from Clinton Rathbun. Sorry. Question for next week. Do you use Gerber Guides to select comics to pursue? Or if not, what is your process for determining which comics to go after? Okay, so here's the funny thing. I actually picked up Gerber's Guide like a few months back. Here it is right here, Gerber's Guide. And for those who are not familiar with the Gerber's Guide, it's the photojournal guide to comic books. And this is volume 2. I don't have volume 1. I tried to find volume 1. I don't have it. So I have volume 2. But basically inside, mine's all sealed, but it basically shows all the covers from, this is like volume 2, so it's K to Z. So all the titles that from K to Z would be in this. And it has about 21,000 covers that it displays. And it basically gives you a sense of the covers, because it used to be, and do I have it handy? Yeah, I have it handy. Okay, it used to be when you would buy comics, okay, and you'd look it up in the guide. Here's the guide. This is the most recent guide. I just picked this up. I got it for $30, and it's like, it was normally $49 in Canada. So so $30 Canadian. So I was quite happy, brand new. It was sealed wrapped. I just unwrapped it. But normally the way you would get your comics is you'd get this guide, right? And then this is like the Overstreet guide, and you have like little pictures at the top. So you'd see some of the covers, but most of the time you just see like listings. Like it'd just be like a whole bunch of listings where it would say 5 to 10, $5, or $100 or whatever it was. And you wouldn't know what that cover looked like. You wouldn't know that, hey, maybe that cover has the first appearance. So for example, I just recently talked about Smash Comics in the video yesterday. And if I had just seen Smash Comics 1 through 80, I would have thought, okay, well, whatever, like, are there any key issues in there? I don't know. And I wouldn't have known that number 43 has the first cover appearance of Lady Luck, because I wouldn't have seen the cover, because it would just be this. So what happened was Gerber basically came out with this book that has all of the covers, and it's actually got a lot, even on the cover of the book itself. And people all of a sudden said, hey, wow, some of those covers are pretty cool. And they started collecting some of these covers, like Shock Suspense 3 became like a really hot book after this photojournal basically brought it to light. And the way that they got all the photos is they would literally go around to these people's houses and photograph their collections. And they got a massive photo guide as a result. And, if you look at the covers, I mean, the ones that they chose to put on the cover of the guide are really good ones to sort of chase after. These are some really good ones. Like I have this one, All-Star Comics, I believe. I forgot what issue that number is. 18. It's like a little alien one, or sort of like a bug kind of one. So yeah, there's some really great covers that made the cover of the Gerber Guides, and shown inside. So what happened is people started collecting these really cool covers, and that is not how I got into how I got into these cooler covers. My entry into it was very different, and I came in from the history angle because I really liked the whole concept of the golden age ending and what led to that end of the golden age. So really, it's The Seduction of the Innocent, which is the book that really kind of was the death nail to to comics from the golden age, was my introduction into collecting sort of golden age comics. So basically, I used The Seduction of the Innocent and the books that it mentioned inside. It mentions like a whole bunch, like Reformed Schoolgirl, okay, and the comics that are mentioned in here have really great covers and really great stories. It's all the kind of taboo stuff and interesting stuff that Wortham, the guy that wrote this book, basically, sort of spoke against. And I found it's a great guide to finding cool books. If they get mentioned in here, they got to be a cool book because they rub somebody the wrong way. And you'll notice with a lot of the videos that I make, I really do like comics that are a bit controversial. I'll buy the book that will make fun of certain groups, or and maybe not the best in terms of political correctness, but I enjoy those books. I actually think those books are really cool. So, I think that this is a great method of finding books. But I definitely recommend for those who don't have the Gerber's Guide to buy the Gerber's Guide, because it really does give you access to like just half of it, and it's 21,000 covers. And they are amazing covers. And it gives you basically the whole range of the Golden Age. So you can really get to see what was being put out in the Golden Age that maybe didn't get light of day before. A lot of the things that really people didn't realize how great they were the issues that were not keys. Like everybody focused on Action 1 or, whatever. Well, the Gerber Guide basically highlighted some of the great covers that were on the in-between issues, the filler issues, and really made some of those filler issues very, very hot. Especially like a lot of the Golden Age or pre-code horror. So that's my quick explanation to that. One other thing with The Seduction of the Innocent and how I got into finding certain key comics is there was a TV show called Connections. And I am geeky here. And it's a history show. And basically it showed how, for example, they had one show where basically they showed how the compass led to the atomic bomb, and they just basically said, well, this discovery led to this discovery, and this discovery led to this discovery, and, and eventually led to the atomic bomb. So with me and collecting, I found that, I started collecting like, good girl art. Well, and then that good girl art led to Al Felstein, and Al Felstein led to, collecting certain EC titles, and then EC titles led me to look into other pre-code horror, and then other pre-code horror led me to, it keeps on, it's like almost like you pull that thread on a sweater and it gradually unravels because you you keep on pulling. Well, I that's what happened with me. I just kept on discovering new old stuff. Actually, I rediscovered a lot of this old stuff that was kind of forgotten about, and I think it's kind of cool. So that's been my journey with the whole thing. Okay, so that was a very long-winded explanation for that one. The next question is from Ronnie Gazar, and he asked, you have an amazing collection. How do you go about funding these books? Okay, so my story is a little bit weird. I made my money in the weirdest way. So I started a business back in 1998. Okay. And I got into this business not because I was like brilliant or anything like that, but I did have a talent. Um, I was very good at web marketing. I just naturally attuned to it for whatever reason, and I'm just really good at it. Just really good. Um, so what I did was I started this business because I was trying to market something. And it was actually something really, really lame, and it was just a bad idea. um, and it was an art website. I was building this art website. I didn't even know anything about art. I just thought it was a great idea. The internet seemed like a really cool thing, and I spent all my money just building the website. And I didn't even have any artists. It was like the dumbest thing. And but within 3 months, though, because I'm very good at marketing and very good at like just going out there and putting myself out there and just saying, hey, look, I have this website, want to get on it, and like it's going to be great, it's going to be awesome. And I just go around to different artists and art shows and stuff like that and get artists to join my art website. So within 3 months, I had over $8 million worth of art, original art on my website. I had 200 artists, and I was featured on CNN News, all within 3 months, from going from nothing, literally nothing, to that point. And then Better Homes and Gardens mentioned it as one of the best of the web, and it became this kind of big company. And I even got in the New York Times about it, and I was very good at like you know using connections and like getting my site ranked as well. Like I was very good at SEO, which is what I do for the most part. So basically, I ran that. I basically did that, but it was not a big moneymaker. It was, I had all this art, but it was really hard to sell. And what happened was, I just wasn't making any money. I was making very, very little money, like enough to survive, but not to thrive, I should say. And but I was getting a lot of attention from other people who owned other websites. They were like, "Oh, how did you market this website? How did you get it to be so popular?" And I was like, "Okay, I can help you. I can show you how to do it." And I ended up starting doing marketing for other companies. And after a while, that started growing, and it was actually bigger than my art business. So I just said, "Okay, I'll just stop the art business and focus on building this digital agency." And now I have about 20 people that work for me. And, I have this agency that basically markets businesses. And I have about 400 clients. And I actually have a very cool strategy for how I get my clients. So what I do is I learn very quickly that dealing with clients is actually very painful. So what I'll do is, instead of working directly with clients, I'm very good at finding companies that will resell my services. So I can basically do anything you can imagine online, like build websites, build apps, market them, show you how to build a business from scratch, basically online, and how to actually make it a successful business online. I can do all that. So what happened was, this is kind of a weird story, but it makes sense. It'll make sense. What happened was, I built this business, and it just sort of grew from me getting other companies to resell my services. So I would basically provide very inexpensive services, and they would double my price, and then they would sell it to their clients. So I have about 50 companies that resell my services to other companies. And as a result, I get big clients and small clients, and it's all over the place. But I try to have that sweet spot of kind of the mom and pop. Like, most of my clients would be the mom and pop kind of businesses. Though I did do lots of marketing for some pretty big companies like Microsoft and Intel and Fisher Price and Butterball, like all these kind of weird companies. But they don't know that I did it. I'm under the a little bit under the radar because I'm the company behind the company. So that's kind of my strategy. And then what happened was, I kind of built this business, and I eventually had a big house. I sold my big house that I was living in, moved into a smaller house, still a 6,000 square foot home, so still not too small. But I had a lot of money saved as a result, because now I wasn't paying out huge mortgage. And as a result, I have all this kind of free, like not free money, but just like I have no mortgage, no real big expenses. So I have a lot of extra money to kind of play with, and I do play with it. I play with it a lot, and I buy a lot of comics. So that's been my my journey to buying lots of comics. And the problem was, like, up till like maybe about 3 years ago, I really didn't have much money, because I was living in this huge house, and I was paying like $15,000 just to be inside that house. Just that was my mortgage, plus I was doing double up payments, and I had just huge debt, and it was just it was very overwhelming. And once I got rid of all that, I was like, wow, I have all this money now, and I got used to earning enough to pay for that. Now I had enough money just to play with. So that's the whole big story. Lots of hand motion to achieve that story. So that's how I can afford the comics that I buy. And sometimes I can't afford them. Sometimes I buy a bit too much. But yeah, that's one of my problems. Bit of an addict when it comes to comics. Okay, so next question is from Rocket Fighter 8. I was going to ask you, what are your top 10 biggest favorite pickups of in 2021, but you already revealed your 8 out of 10 Grail pickups for the year in a previous video. So what are your top 10 honorable mention pickups for 2021? Okay, so actually I brought a lot of books to show for that. And where did I put them? Oh yes, they're over here. Okay, so I have like a whole bunch of piles to answer all these questions. Okay, so the first one I'm going to show is this one. And I love Zombie Tramp, so for those people that don't appreciate Zombie Tramp, sorry, I love Zombie Tramp. This is Zombie Tramp #1, first print. And it's signed by Dan Mendoza, who's the artist and creator of Zombie Tramp. I love this book. It's just a really hard book to find, and it's the first appearances. You know, it's all of that. It's origin of the whole story. So I enjoy Zombie Tramp a lot, and it's great to have this one in my collection. So this was like when I got this, I didn't even have it on my top 10 list, because I didn't think it was realistic to find, because it's that hard of a book to find. I've been literally searching for this book for like, I don't know, 5-10 years. I don't know, it's been a long time. And it just never, you never see it. It's a rare book. Probably less than, like, I would say 500 to 1,000 of these exist. You know, it's really, really rare. So Zombie Tramp #1, that was kind of the big one for me. I was like, wow, I was so excited to get that one. Another big one, for me was this one, Amazing Spider-Man #3. This is the first appearance of Dr. Octavius, Doc Ock. And the reason this one is really kind of big in terms of what I was going for, I really love to get the Sinister Six, all their first appearances. And Doc Ock is kind of a cool character. He's one that I really liked in the Spider-Man movies. And I was really trying to get this book. And then there was a sale. There was this massive sale for this book. And I was like, I'm never going to get this book. It is just one of those books that has just priced itself right out of existence. It was just like, it was like so expensive. Like, it was over $100,000. I was like, how am I going to get this book now? And I really wanted it, and a low grade restored came onto the market. So this is restored. It's a low grade. It's 1.5. And I was like, I'm gonna pay for this book. I'm gonna get it no matter what crazy price it goes for, because I didn't think I was gonna get another chance at it. And I bought it on Heritage. The bid went up to like $1,500, and that was the before buyer's premium. And so there's another 20% on top, and it stopped. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got it. I was so happy. So I got it for $1,800 with the buyer's premium. So it was it's interesting because this book, even though I just really got it this year, or last year, 2021, it recently sold, I mean, just literally this week, sold in a 0.5. So a really, really bad copy, like not even complete book, sold for $2,100. So more expensive than this one and a much lower grade. The restored, when you get into the low grades, really does not affect the price. So I kind of knew that going in. A lot of people might have been kind of back off because of that. And I took advantage of it because I knew that it doesn't really impact the price that much when it's restored in a low grade. Because the type of restoration that really kills the price is when it's in high grade, because then people assume that there must have been a lot of work done on that book to get it to that high grade. While in a low grade, people assume the opposite, that nothing was really done, so therefore it doesn't really impact the price. So I was super excited to get this one in my collection. So that was number 2. I'll put it over here. Another one that I just got, and I bid on this one so many times, lost so many times, and it just happened that Bry's Comics had it, and I was like, and Bry doesn't seem to really get how cool DC is. He's a big Marvel guy, and he had this one, and he had a Black Friday sale, and I picked it up for really cheap. I picked it up for like half what it really should have gone for. I was just so excited. I was like, wow, I finally get this one. This is the first appearance of Gorilla God. Grodd. I can never say his name, Grodd. And it's, 1959, Flash 106. It is also part 1 of a trilogy. There's 3 books involved. I have all 3 actually. It's just a really great book. It's the first appearance of the Pied Piper, who's on the cover. The Gorilla guy is not on the cover, sorry, but it is a cool comic. There's the back. So that was pretty exciting. I was pretty excited about that one. Another one that I just recently picked up and I was super excited, and it was not one that was really on my radar until last year. Like I didn't even know about it, but it was one that I kind of like. As I mentioned earlier, I kind of like comics which are a bit controversial, and this one definitely is controversial. So this is. I even showed it just recently in an unboxing. This is Crown Comics number 3. And the cool thing about this is it's a controversial one, and it's really controversial for the wrong reasons. But it is Matt Baker art. It's also the first appearance of Vuda, who is the first African American, or African, I should say, black. He's African, black superhero. So he doesn't have any superpowers, but he's like a hero. And it's just really cool to get that kind of first historical character first appearance. So another thing that's really great about it is it's a Promise collection. And I really I was like looking through like the Promise collection, on Heritage. They're the ones selling the whole Promise collection. And I was willing to buy just some crappy book, like some dollar bin book. Like there are some golden age books that really don't have much value. But it just happened to be in the Promise collection and have the Promise collection label. And I was looking for those books because I was hoping to get something that was affordable. This book came up and I thought, oh man, it's a book I want because it's controversial and cool. And it's Matt Baker, and I love Matt Baker. And I thought, oh man, it's going to go for way too much. It's going to go, because usually with Promise collection, like these pedigree kind of collections, the price is usually 2 to 3 times what it should be. It's often way overpriced. And that's why I was kind of looking for like those non-valuable issues just to get a Promise collection slab. And I thought, oh man, I'm going to get totally screwed on this. There's no hope. It's going to go for 2,000-3,000. My budget was 800. which was fair market value for the book. I didn't want to pay more than the fair market value. Even though it's a promise collection, I didn't really want to pay more than what I perceived as the fair market price for 7.5, which is a high grade actually. And I got it for $800. I was like, nobody else is bidding. This is awesome. And I totally won it. So I was like so excited to get it in my collection. So this was a pretty big one. This is the, it's like got so many elements to it. I really, really love that one. I just like also the fact that I have my first gold label book, which is Promise Collection too. Another big one. A lot of these are recent buys. I was really excited about this one. Was the first appearance of Blonde Phantom, and this is All Select Comics number 11, and it's a really great cover. This is the cover. Just a really great cover. I love when the first appearance of a character, Blonde Phantom, is done this way. Done exactly this way in a way. It announces the character's name right at the top. It's like bold. It's like, this is that character. This is her first appearance. It's like, and it's featured in, it says like, it does all that. It has her prominently shown. It's a kind of a nice good girl art cover too. She's showing a bit of leg, a bit of sexiness going on there. She's a golden age character that I really like. And, it's a mom approved. I always think it's funny that somebody signed it mom. It's so weird. And it's really cool. I just really like this book. So I was quite excited to get this in my collection. So that's another big pickup that I got. Some more good girl covers. This one I really like is Torchy. If it wasn't for this, like this it cracked here, it would have been a much higher grade. So it cracked there and there. Around the staples, it didn't do so well. It would have been a much higher grade if it wasn't for that. Because it is a very nice, clean copy. So this is Torchy number 1. This is not her first appearance. Her first appearance is in Dollman. But this is her first series, so titled series. And I really like Torchy. Torchy's kind of a quirky character. Nice golden age female character, and to get this one in my collection was kind of cool. I just recently completed the Torchy collection. I'll be doing an unboxing probably in a couple weeks where I'll show you 2 other Torchy books that I just recently picked up. They're still at Stackery and I'm going to get them later. But yeah, this one is definitely one that I was super excited to get. I loved getting that first title where it's like their title, them on the cover. Just really great comic. Another thing that's really great about this one, though it's slabbed, you can't see, is it features lingerie panels. Torchy is one of those characters that for some reason she would get undressed a lot. And just that was kind of her thing. She was very much a bombshell and very sexy character. So I really enjoy Torchy. Now, another big book. This was huge, actually. And it was a book that, again, I really didn't think I was going to get. And I was actually a little bit traumatized by it, if that makes any sense. Because what happened was I made an agreement with somebody and actually paid them for this book. And they reneged because the price sent in the time, like I was doing kind of payments, like it was like I paid like $10,000. It was huge. And I was doing like installments to pay because I didn't have 10,000 like ready to just spend all at once. So what I did was I paid installments. I paid it over a 4-month period. But in the time period that I started paying, the book had gone crazy. It had just gone from being like a $10,000 book to being like a $40,000 to $50,000 book. It had gone up crazy amounts. And the guy reneged. He refunded the money, sadly. At least happily I got the money back, but it was just a painful experience. It was months and months of me just going back and forth, begging him, please just send the book. Hey, honor the deal. And he wouldn't do it. He totally screwed me over. So I was really sad and I didn't get the book. It was a much higher grade. It was a 6.0. but it was restored. So that's why I kind of negotiated on the price. I managed to get this book, which was a Blue Label. It's a 1.0. It's not quite as nice, but I'm very happy with it. It has, it's complete. It's it's a solid comic. This is More Fun Comics 55. Now, why is this such an important comic? Well, it is the first appearance of Dr. Fate. And the reason the book had become so hot was Dr. Fate was announced in the next Black Adam movie. And it's going to be Pierce Brosnan. So a really great actor playing a really great character. So this book became super hot. It just became the kind of golden age book to pick up after Marvel Family 1. That's another crazy expensive book. So this one was really brutal to get. But I was super happy to get it, and I still had to pay a lot for it. This was a big pickup. I paid $8,000 for this book. Or no, sorry, $6,000 for this book. So I was it was $6,800. That's where yeah, so $6,800. It was pretty expensive, but a great book. I was quite happy to get it. So that's that one. So 3 more to go. So this is going to be a long video. I do these Q&A videos. If you ever watch my Q&A videos, they're very long. I'm sorry about that, but I'd love to talk about comics. So the next one is Fantastic Four number 4. This is a great book. I was super excited to get this one. It was one that actually was hunting for a while, and I was asking around, and nobody ever seemed to have it. It was just a hard book to find. And yep, it was a reasonable price, and I picked it up. So this is Fantastic Four number 4, and it is the first Silver Age appearance of the Submariner. So we got him on the cover there, which is great. So I was quite happy to get that. And another one that I really was trying to get, and so many times I would just miss out, and the price would just go crazy. I was just really annoyed. It was always, even for a low grade, it would be like $1,500, $2,000. I was like, oh man, I'm never, I really liked it was purely a cover buy. It was a cover I just really thought was brilliant. And it was a cover that is an Alex Schomburg airbrush cover. And it's this one right here. Wonder Comics number 15. Just a really, to me, I really like this cover. I just love these bondage covers. Alex Schomburg airbrush covers are just amazing. This one just happened that Keston had it. Like he had an extra copy. And he's like, oh, I'll sell it to you. I was like, oh, really? So, sure. What's your price? And basically, I bought it from him, and it's like an 8.0. It is restored, but it's only slight restoration, and it's kind of it's a nice, very nice presenting comic. Just a really great one, and it has Baby Ruth candy on the back, so you can't go wrong there. So, just a really great cover. I really like Alex Schomburg. So that's a nice golden age pickup. Now the biggest pickup from 2021, my ultimate biggest, and it wasn't not even considered to be on my top 10 list because it was just, it's sort of like Action 1. You wouldn't put it on your want list because it's more of a dream list to put that book on your want list. Well, that's how I perceive this one. This was a dream book. And I really didn't think I would have any hope of ever picking up one. But I ended up getting it. I was like, wow, I can get this book. And it's so cool to have it in my collection. And it's Sensation Comics number 1. Now, this is the first cover appearance of Wonder Woman. And it's her second appearance overall. It's just a really awesome, iconic book. And it was just such a great win to get this one. I did a live show about it, and I was just super excited to get this book in my collection. So this was like one that I never thought I would get. It's a low grade. It's amazing how much money you can save by getting that low grade. It's a 0.5, still expensive book, even in a 0.5 expensive book. The reason it's a 0.5, and it presents really well, it's actually a really nice looking comic, is the centerfold fell out. So it's missing the centerfold. If it wasn't for that, it would be, probably a 2 or a 3, maybe a 3. I'd say 3 actually. It's just a really nice comic, but because of this missing centerfold, it is incomplete, and it was much cheaper. So I was able to get it. So I was quite happy. That was a big book. That was like one that I was super excited to get in my collection. Okay, so those were my top 10 honorable mention, I guess, comics from 2021. And if you want to see my top 10 sort of books that I was kind of wanting for 2021, you can check out one of my older videos for that. Wow, we're only on question number 4. And there's like 5 more questions. Okay. Kaoyun. Kaoyo? Okay, it's C-O-W, cow, and then Y-E-O-W. So Kaoyo? I'm totally mispronouncing his name here. Okay, I love your videos. I noticed all your grades are all over the place. Do you trade up for higher grades, or do you just enjoy having having a copy of everything you like, no matter what the grade? I actually do trade up, and I do buy, like what I'll do is, for example, going back to this one. This is a really great book. I love this book. If somebody had like a 1.0 or like a 2.0, I would, give them this book and, maybe pay the cash difference or bring in some other books to make up for the difference in price. I'm willing to do that. I'm always trying to, like, I do want to upgrade my books. But generally what I've been doing is I've been more focusing on getting all the books that I want. And sometimes that means sacrificing on grade, because if I sacrifice a little bit on grade, then I can get more of the books that I want. And sometimes it's not necessarily the best way of collecting. It's more of a quantity over quality. And I don't necessarily recommend that, but it allows me to get some of these cool books in my collection just because I do sacrifice on the grade in order to cut the cost down. So that's generally what's happened. I do upgrade every so often when I can. Okay, so the next one is Polly76. I've been enjoying your channel. Please can you do another video recommending some affordable sub $100 Golden Age comics, specifically hero books? It's really fascinating to see the more obscure heroes that didn't quite make it. Thanks. Okay, so today when I'm filming this, but yesterday I actually did a video that addresses this question, where I look at 5 superhero Golden Age books that you can, or series actually, that you can pick up for under $100. So check that video out. It's a really great video where I get into some really good titles that you can pick up pretty cheaply. And they're actually kind of really underpriced. They should be much more than they are. And I do believe that they have potential to go up in value because of that, because they are right now undervalued. So check out that video. I really get into some underpriced or under $100 Golden Age hero books, superhero books. So check that video out. Okay, Mike Swintel wrote, could you maybe do something like best good girl art comic cover of each decade, maybe a winner and runner-up from 1930s to the modern times, and then maybe the same thing with bondage covers. It would be a subject, of course, but fun to see, interesting to see if they changed, how they've changed. Okay, so I kind of do both of them together. So you'll see this. So I actually gathered only one, because it would have been 20 books. And these are not necessarily the best. These are the ones that I think are really great. Maybe not even my favorite. They are ones definitely in that top 5 favorite of those decades, if that makes sense. Because there's just so many great covers from, so many great good girl art covers from each of these decades. But we'll get started with the 40s. I don't have any really good girl art from the 30s that would be worth showing. Really, when you get into the 30s, you're talking about pulps. And I don't have any good girl art pulps from the 30s, so I have nothing to show. So we'll get into the 40s and then we'll go each decade up. So we're going to start with Sunny. This is a really great classic cover. There's just so much going on with this cover, and I'll explain it. So this is 1940s good girl art. So you got that 40s style hair. That's kind of key. Another thing that you got is this kind of innocence, but seductive innocence. And this is what really is a hallmark of good girl art. So we got, she's just like, figure skating, right? Very innocent. But yet her legs a little high, and she's kind of flashing flashing the guy in behind, and he's kind of smiling. It's got that kind of classic element, that sort of innocent but a little bit of seductiveness to it. And the other cool thing is, like, she's skating to danger thin ice. There's sort of like that humor there. And it is a headlight cover. So this is L. Felstein artwork. You got the headlight cover. It's a typical headlight good girl art cover. So this is just a really great comic. It is one that's highly sought after by collectors. And it's just a really great one. Lots of leg, lots of headlights going on. just lots of great humor as well. So I really like this one. So that's from the 40s. Now the 50s, I always think of good girl art from the 50s as being synonymous with Archie. And one of the most kind of iconic or famous Archie covers from the 50s is this one. This is a Bob Montana art, and it's a classic Betty on the couch cover. And again, it's another headlight cover, sweater sexiness cover. That was another thing about the 50s. 50s was all about sweaters, like these kind of like tight-fitting sweaters with the classic boob shape. I don't know how better to say it. I don't know. But it's that whole kind of classic style from the 50s. Another thing that's really great about this is it is, it's got that word bubble. So it's got a little bit of the story on the cover as well, which is interesting. I really enjoy this. This is what, actually, I would say this is my favorite from the 50s, good girl art. So that would be the 50s. Now we get into the 60s. Now the 60s is a little bit, when I think of the 60s, it's Silver Age. It's a bit hokey, if that makes sense. Things are like, it's not like what you have before the Golden Age. With the Golden Age, it's like more like harsh, and like the Dark Knight was dark, and horror comics were gory and like just out there. Bondage was like extreme, like women in peril kind of situations. Well, Silver Age is the opposite. It's much more hokey. It's much more campy. It's much more silly. You got, if you think about the Batman TV series, you think of how much Batman has changed from the Golden Age to that Silver Age Batman style, where he's a bit more campy, a bit more silly. Well, with good girl art, you got the same kind of thing. You got this. This is a great good girl art cover. Maybe a little bit of bad girl in it, because it's got Lois Lane, which is the good girl, and Catwoman. So we got classic cat fight, and we got Superman has been turned into a cat, and this is the first Silver Age appearance of Catwoman, and it's Superman's girlfriend number 70. Just a really great, iconic cover, and a great first Silver Age appearance of Catwoman. She kind of had disappeared for a while when the Silver Age kind of hit. So this is even late. This is 1966. This is late Silver Age comic. So just a really great comic. So that's that's the 60s. Now we get into the 70s. And I'm going to show you. This is a bondage one. So you asked for bondage. got you a little bit of bondage inside of this top 10. And this is a classic cover from a character I really like, and it's Wonder Woman. And this is just like 70s style at its, it's like, who's the Nick Cardy cover. This is a really great cover with her, her lasso of justice is like wrapped around her, and she's attached to a bomb. How awesome is that? So it's got some of the good girl art style of the actual earlier times. So this is Bronze Age, and Bronze Age is really getting back to its roots in terms of almost kind of bringing back some of the elements of the Golden Age. So this is women in peril, bondage. It's whole bunch of things going on. Not only is she on a bomb, she's getting shot at by a whole bunch of planes. It's just like so much going on, so much fun, and it's like, a really great good girl art cover. And this is Wonder Woman number 205 from the first series. So really great comic. And that one's actually a pretty pricey book, considering it's like, Bronze Age. But there's a lot of people that chase after it. So that's my Bronze Age choice. That's the 70s. Now we get into the 80s. Now the 80s is a totally different style. But the book that I picked for the 80s is this one. And the reason I picked it is it's Dave Stevens. I love Dave Stevens. There's other books that I could have picked for Dave Stevens, but I just had this one handy. But it's actually one of my favorite covers from Dave Stevens. It's a classic Valkyrie cover. So this is Valkyrie right here. It's just a really great cover. Like, she's just like, strong and like, doing the whole gun pose and just like the sort of sexy top thing going on. That's one thing with Valkyrie. If you ever like look at the Golden Age Valkyrie, and she's always wearing this kind of sexy top. So this is Airboy number 5. It's just a really great book. This is one that I always have on display because I really enjoy it. I just think it's a really great cover. So this is classic Dave Stevens artwork, and he's an artist that died way too young. He died in his 40s. So yeah, just a really great book. I really love it. This is my 80s choice. There's no bondage, sorry, but it is a great cover. Okay, then we get into the 90s. And I actually chose a really interesting one for the 90s. And this is one I've mentioned in other videos. It's a John Byrne cover. And this is a very famous cover. It's got some of those good girl, but humor good girl elements. And it's got like, so we got She-Hulk, Sensational She-Hulk number 40. And this is the jump rope cover. So this has got that bit of innocence, bit of naughtiness. She's naked and she's got this newspaper, and the guy is like, she's always breaking the fourth wall, and he's telling her, hey, can you do some jump rope? Like, she's like, are you serious? It's just a really great cover, and it captures that kind of good girl innocence with a bit of that sexiness that's also associated to the good girl style. So this is the very, very 90s. She's got that 90s hair, early 90s hair, and just really great, great comic. So that's my 90s choice. And then we go into 2001 for the next one. And I actually really like this cover. It's a cover that, it's not one that most people would have said, oh, this is a really great 2000s good girl art cover, but it's one that I really think is brilliant. It is this one, Bloodstone number 1. I just really like when I saw this cover, like I was just like, oh, I really love it. I just think it's a brilliant cover. It's got that sort of, reminds me of like the old style VHS, covers, or like it almost reminds me. There's like an old game, like a board game, like for the VHS. You'd play, you'd put the tape in, you'd watch the tape, and you'd play this game. And it kind of has that feel to me. It just reminds me of that for some reason. Um, it's just really great. I just think it's a really great cover. I really enjoy it. It's very sexy. You know, it's kind of like her from the back. You know, you can see that she's a very attractive woman. I just really enjoy this cover. So this is my choice. It's a bit of a different style from all the other good girl art that I'm showing on in this video, but I really enjoy this one. So that's the year 2000s. Now we get into the 2010s, okay? And for 2010, I chose Adam Hughes. And this is like really, you know, this is not the one that I would have picked. Actually, this series I would pick. So if you look at the covers for this Zatanna series, they're all brilliant. They're just all these classic good girl art covers. Just really, really sexy covers. And, you know, Zatanna is a sexy character. She's, you know, wearing always this like thing where, you know, lots of leg and just, you know, kind of sexy. I just really like this cover. So yeah, so this is my 2010s choice. And I actually picked an interesting one for the 2020s. So there, you know, that's the last decade on this list. And the reason I picked this one is it's a good girl from the classic age. So it's almost like coming back to that classic era of good girl pinup style. And it's Betty Page I picked. Betty Page Volume 3, Number 1. And this is a variant cover by Warren Lowe. It's just a really great cover. And it's got that kind of classic Betty Page look, that 40s, 50s claw style. Maybe, you know, where she's kind of doing this, you know, sexy pose. Typical pinup. So I just think it's a really great cover. You know, typical good girl. A little bit of naughtiness, maybe. Like, you know, that sort of hint at naughtiness. She's kind of pulling her sunglasses down, just kind of checking you out. I think that's really cool. So that's my style. Like, I'm not sure if you can really see that. There. Hopefully you can see this well in the recording. But this is my 2020s choice for good girl art style. And I hope by seeing all these different covers, you can sort of see that transition, how good girl art changed over the years. And hopefully it was interesting. I love good girl art. You can see by my smile that I really enjoy good girl art. Okay, so the next one is from Star Pod Log and Star Pod Trek, a podcast. What are some of your favorite science fiction comics from the Bronze Age? And where did I put them? I gotta find them. I got it somewhere. And I'm gonna find it. Okay, so just bear with me because I was, you know, I had so many things that I was showing, and it just adds up after a while. Oh yes, here it is. Had to find the right stack. There's like all these stacks that I have for each question. Okay, so there's a few series that I really enjoyed watching as a kid in the 70s. And some were like Space 1999, but the two big ones and the ones that I only have, like I can only think of these two for comics that I have. And I have the complete runs of both. Are Star Trek. So this is Star Trek number 2. I was a big fan of Spock and Kirk and McCoy, Bones. So yeah, I just love these photo covers. I think they're really great. So this is number 2. I showed number 1 in a previous video, so I figured, hey, I'll show some different stuff. We got another photo cover with Spock, and got the bridge crew at the bottom there. This is number 3. And then we got number 4, another photo cover, and it has the Enterprise. And I'm going to show just a few of these. Star Trek number 5. And that's actually, I like that episode. So, just a random aside. And this is a really great episode. I love this episode. It's like been parodied so many times. Where this is the one where Kirk and Spock fight. It's just a really great episode. I love that episode. So yeah, so this is the photo from that. So this is number 6. And then we got number 7. And I'll just show number 8. I have the full run of this, but I just show a few covers. And this one's great. It's got them all on the transporter. And it's got Sulu and there's Bones and Ahura and Chekhov. I think Scotty's in the bottom one. Okay, so yeah, I'm a big fan of Star Trek, big Trekkie. That's me. And the other thing I really love is Star Wars. So this is Star Wars number 1. I was super excited to get this in my collection. I picked this up a few years back. Really great comic. I just love Star Wars. And this was quite a great one to get into my collection. So this is Star Wars number 1. And it was just another Bronze Age sci-fi comic that I really enjoyed. I have the complete run of Star Wars as well. So I have both runs. I was quite happy to get those complete collections done. Okay, so that was those ones. Next is from Comic Book Ninja. What are your favorite comic book related movies and TV shows for 2021? Thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League and Spider-Man No Way Home? Okay. So TV related series that came out, I really did enjoy WandaVision. I like that whole warping of reality. I kind of thought that was interesting, how she had her little bubble, and there was a lot of, I thought that of all the series had the best use of Easter eggs, where they kind of hinted, oh, maybe this could be this, maybe this could be this, and is Mephisto going to be in it? It's like all these kind of like little Easter eggs that they put in. And it was a little bit disappointing in the end that they didn't kind of go into certain characters. Like Mephisto still isn't there. It is what it is, but I really enjoyed that series. I didn't really enjoy Captain America and not Captain America. Winter Soldier and the Falcon. I didn't enjoy that at all. I thought it was too preachy. And I enjoyed Hawkeye. That was a good series. So those would be the big ones. In terms of movies, Suicide Squad was okay. I wasn't as enthusiastic about it. Shang-Chi was so again. There was parts of it I really thought were great. But getting into the big ones that I really did enjoy both Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. I enjoyed it for some things, and some things I actually didn't like about it. So what I did enjoy about it was longer, and you were able to tell a bit more story. I enjoyed that about it. There was certain scenes that I enjoyed the previous version of those scenes. So there was a scene where Wonder Woman is in the bank, and she's defending like a group of people that are held hostage in this bank. And, I like the way that was done in the original version of Justice League. It was kind of slow motion, and you could see you could see how she was calculated in her movements, and she was deflecting the bullets with sort of like that, almost like the way Quicksilver would, where he's seeing things a little bit slowed down, and he can deflect it or do something to stop, based on him being able to move faster than the thing that he's dodging or whatever. I saw that in the original Justice League. You kind of saw that with Wonder Woman, that she is just so much faster than the bullet that is like aimed at her, that she can kind of deflect it or do whatever she wants with it. And I thought that was kind of cool in the first version. in the Snyder cut, that scene is done differently, where it's kind of sped up and it looks not as cool. It just didn't I was very disappointed by that. However, I thought they did so much better with Flash. The way he was, shown was just so much cooler. In the original version of Justice League, he was kind of lame, like a little bit like a comedic relief. Oh, he's the Flash. Oh, he's so cute. That was basically it. He was a bit of a goof. But in this, he actually had some depth, and I enjoyed that. Also, I enjoyed the fact that they brought in Martian Manhunter, a really great character. I love Martian Manhunter. So I thought that was great. So he was in it. Now, Spider-Man No Way Home, it was by far the biggest and best thing from 2021. And I mean that not just in terms of Marvel, DC, or superhero. I mean that in terms of all movies. All movies from 2021 have to learn something from Spider-Man No Way Home. What Spider-Man No Way Home did correct just blows away every other movie that came out that year. And what it did correct was it appreciated the fans. And what I mean by that is it didn't, like in some movies, what they'll do is they'll they'll give like fan service, and it feels like, oh, you're pandering to us. With No Way Home, they gave fan service, but it was done in such a way that it didn't feel like pandering. It felt like honoring. And it felt like they actually respected their audience. So there's a scene, and I'm going to spoil a movie. Sorry. So no spoil. Like if you fast forward like 30 seconds, you'll not hear the spoiler. But you should go watch the movie. But there's a scene where Garfield, that Spider-Man, he basically saves Gwen Stacy. Or MJ, I should say. MJ. In his version, he doesn't save his Gwen Stacy. She dies when she falls out of the tower, and if he was just like half a second quicker, he would have saved her. And you could see in that movie, I thought that was a really great scene where how it devastated him. And in No Way Home, that you could see that he was still that broken man, that, he couldn't save his love of his life, his Gwen Stacy. And because of that, he was broken. And you could really sense that. And they played that really, really well. And then you have the scene where he basically gets the opportunity to save MJ. And, he saves her at the very last second. They always save people at the very last second. But, he saves her at the last second. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And, he says that because, and you can sense that whole thing, because previously, Gwen Stacy wasn't okay. It was that brief second that he missed. And she was okay. So you could sense that he was really relieved that he finally was able to right that wrong that he had made. And she asks him, "Are you okay?" I thought that was really, and it really kind of reinforced that whole, the depth, the weight of that scene. And I thought it was really well done. That was just really, really well done. I really, that was to me one of the best scenes in any Marvel movie of all time, actually, I would say. I just thought it was quite brilliant. And I just thought the movie in general was quite well done. It was like building on characters rather than trying to dismantle them and do all this kind of woke, socially justice-y kind of junk. It told a story that was compelling and in something that I think if other movie franchises take note of, that they, say, "Hey, look, Spider-Man No Way Home it's going to be $1 billion movie. it's going to be a big movie. It's going to make lots of money because it didn't pander, it didn't insult the audience." And that's really important. And I hope that Hollywood learns from Spider-Man No Way Home that, you can make great movies again. You don't have to make it social justice-y and all this junk that we just ruins the stories. Make it something that the fans can appreciate. So that's what I take from Spider-Man No Way Home. And I really loved the movie. I thought it was great. Okay, Red Comics wrote, do you have any Golden Age or Silver Age Superboy? Also, any Tomb of Dracula 1973 from the 1973 series. These are some of my favorites. What's your opinion of them? I really like both. So I'm going to show you some. I just grabbed a few. I didn't grab, like, I have actually more than this, but I figured I'd grab some key issues from both series. So I'm going to show you, first, I'm going to show you Superboy. So this is Superboy number 2. It's not number 1, but it's number 2. This is actually, the reason I picked this up is not because I love Superboy. I actually do like Superboy a lot. But I picked it up because it's mentioned in The Seduction of the Innocent. So it's mentioned in that book that I was talking about. It's just a really great, comic. It's also the first mention of Smallville. So I really enjoy all those kind of first appearance kind of elements to it. And Superboy is actually a really interesting character. One that's maybe a little bit underappreciated because it really gives you a sense of Superman's early years. And that's how they kind of played. The original Superboy is more about Superman being younger. It was only later that he was kind of this clone and it was like a different story. But the early Golden Age Superboy is really telling that early time period of Superboy, like of Clark Kent and how he grew up, basically. So I enjoy Superboy. So this is Superboy number 2. In terms of Tomb of Dracula, actually, it was like I found a Tomb of Dracula back in the 90s in the dollar bin. And it was $2. I was like, oh, come on. It says dollar bin. I was trying to get it for $1, but I didn't. I got it for $2. So I paid $2 for this. It's Tomb of Dracula number 1. And it's a pretty beaten up copy, actually. It's probably like a 3 or something like that, 3.5 maybe. So yeah, it's a low grade, but it is a very cool comic to have because it's the first appearance of Dracula. So just a really great book. I really like to have that. The next one I have, and this one I was super excited to get. Actually, I'm a big fan of this character. Is Tomb of Dracula number 10, which is the first Blade. I loved Blade, the movie. Oh my goodness. I was a big Blade fan. I was like really into Wesley Snipes and that whole Blade movie. I just thought it was brilliant. I was just like, and watching it again, actually, I don't think it was as cool as I remembered it, but but I still think it was great. So this is Tomb of Dracula number 10. Just a really great, nice Blade on the cover kind of thing. And just, I really like this comic in general. So that's Tomb of Dracula number 10. Another one that also, if you watch the original Blade series, Blade movies, this is Tomb of Dracula number 43. And this is the first appearance of Deacon Frost, who is one of the bad guys in the Blade series. So I really enjoyed that movie so much. This is number 45, I should say. Tomb of Dracula number 45. First appearance of Deacon Frost. So those are some of my Tomb of Dracula and Superboy. And I do enjoy them. I enjoy that whole almost, supernatural element to the Tomb of Dracula's. I'm a big vampire fan. So I always wanted to be a vampire. That was a thing as a kid. I was always going around, like every Halloween I'd dress up as a vampire because it was the easy costume. And I really liked the whole idea of being a vampire. So Tomb of Dracula was kind of big on my list. Okay, so the next one is from Jennifer Smith. What are your top 5 or top 10 best buys financially? And I'm going to do this as for 2021, maybe, or maybe the last couple of years. Okay. Actually, I picked this order. This is 5. I only picked 5 for this, But this one is actually a funny one. And I put it on here just because it is funny. I picked up this one because I thought it was a really great cover. I bought it for cover. This is Strange Academy number 13. I believe this is like a $30 to $40 book. So I bought it for $3. I bought it undercover, and it's gone up 10 times. So that's a pretty big financial, return on investment. So I put that on here just because I wanted to show something in a way. Most people, when they think of big financial gains, they think of like, I made $1,000 on a like $5,000 book. So sure, that's a big gain in terms of value. But in terms of actual increase in value, something like this is actually a better deal. So, when you pick up something in the dollar bin and you pick it up and it turns out to be like a $10 book, that's actually not too bad. So, sometimes it's the small wins that are actually the big ones. Okay, but I'm going to show you some big wins, So that was like, just an example. But I'm going to show you 3 big wins that I got. This one actually I paid in cash for. I drove like 2 hours to get to this guy's house just to buy this one in cash. This is Tales of Suspense number 39. And you'll see it's a 7.0. It's got the slightest trimming. It's like so annoying. It's like a little bit on the corner was trimmed. That's it. So it's barely restored. It is a restored grade, but it is what it is. I paid $5,000 cash for this one. Now this is probably a $20,000 book now. It's a 7.0. It's a high grade. It presents amazingly well. It's one of those books that maybe even could be pressed and get even cleaned and pressed and get an 8.0. It is just a beautiful copy. But I'm quite happy to have it in my collection. That's why I drove 2 hours to get to this. It's just to buy this book because it was just such a great one to get. Tales of Suspense number 39, the first appearance of Iron Man. I just love that book. It's just really great. And that was a huge financial win because, it's gone up huge amounts since I bought it. Okay, the next one again is another restored one. And this was a big win. Was this one, Journey into Mystery. I forgot how much I paid. I think I paid $2,000 or $3,000 for this. It was like something in that range. It's a 6.0, and it has, again, that slight restoration. It's one of those ones where it's not possible to revert the restoration. It's all 3 edges are trimmed. I don't know why they say it's slight restoration, but because all edges are trimmed, it's kind of major, but they're only slightly trimmed. And it's got some color touch as well. So it is restored, which does bring down the value, but this one, for how much I paid and how much it's probably worth, I could probably sell this probably for, I would say 10 to 15,000 easily. It's a great book. It's a great book to have in my collection. Another one that I did really well on, I forgot how much I paid. I think I paid like $400 or $300 for this book, is Werewolf by Night number 32. This is a 4.5, which is sort of a mid-grade, but this book has really gone up since I bought it. This is like probably a $1,500 book now. So this is, and the show is going to come out and it could go up even more. So this was a pretty good win in terms of books that I bought. I was quite happy to get this in my collection. I always wanted to get Moon Knight's first appearance. So it's a great book to get. So those are some of the big ones that I got last year. Sorry, it's not 5. I got 4 on the list there, but those are some big ones. Okay, and last question, because this is going on for like over an hour. What is the first comic with the new Marvel title? Okay, so last video, I was talking about how Marvel went from being Atlas and Timely, that's what it used to be called, and it became Marvel Comics, okay? And when they first came out with Marvel Comics, they denoted it with a little MC. That's it. They didn't write Marvel Comics or anything big. It was just like a little MC. And I'll show you. There was 2 books that were the first to have that MC. And they were published in June of 1961. It was Journey into Mystery number 69 and Patsy Walker number 95. So those 2 books were the first with a little MC like denotation on them. However, the first Marvel series and the first Marvel like new Marvel title, I should say, where they really revamped the whole concept behind Marvel, because at the time when the Silver Age happened, a lot of publishers went out of business, really just disappeared. Atlas, Timely were really focusing on sort of like Tales to Astonish, these kind of mystery stories, and they kind of went that route. However, DC came out with some really big stuff in the 60s and the 50s that were doing really well. Their superhero books were doing extremely well during that time period. So Marvel was like, hey, maybe we can get into this whole superhero gig. And they came out with their own superhero title, which was Fantastic Four. So you'll notice the little MC right there. That stands for Marvel Comics. I always wondered what that stood for, and then I learned the history behind it. So Marvel Comics, this was their flagship comic, Fantastic Four, and it was a bit of a different take on the whole superhero idea. Before, superheroes were very different. And Fantastic Four really said, hey, let's make them with a little bit of mutation or like some kind of weirdness to them. Let's make them kind of celebrity status. They kind of had a little bit different take on the superhero. And they wrote stories like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and X-Men, which really were taking real people and putting them in that superhero situation. If you look at Superman, you can't really relate to Superman. He's from another world even. He's not that relatable in some way because you can't see yourself being that character. However, with X-Men and Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, they are people who either got bitten by a radioactive spider or had some kind of spaceship issue where they got cosmic rays zapped on them, or something happened to them where they became superheroes whether they wanted to be or not. They just and they still had to deal with their own regular life, and yet they are now superheroes. So you get that kind of situation happening with Fantastic Four and X-Men, all these ones, and they're the ones that really brought Marvel Comics to the forefront and allowed Marvel Comics to really dominate from the Silver Age to the modern age. So that would be my explanation for the very first comic with the new Marvel title, and that's TN. I hope I answered your question well. Okay, so that has been another Q&A session. Very long video, sorry for the length. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you stayed to the very end, thanks. I hope you enjoyed it again. And please comment below with your questions, and I will do my best to give you a good answer to any question that's asked. Please like as well. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe. There's a lot of stuff that I'm putting out on my channel, and I hope that you enjoy it. I really do try to create content that is interesting. So thanks again for watching. Bye for now.